All right, so last night about 10 o'clock, I looked at my phone. I looked at it because I had a couple other accounts where I have longer term trades in, and I wanted to see how they were doing. And I happened to see that the ES futures were in this nice zigzaggy pattern, and we're sitting right here. So I thought, okay, this is probably a really good place to get into a long, even though I don't usually trade in the evening. Got into a long here, and I set my stop at 78, you can see here. And I put my exit order in almost exactly where it is currently on this chart, which is about 92. That seemed to be kind of a conservative high point there, and it would have been an incredibly good trade. So I got into it, and it did end up going up. It took a very long time. It wasn't until after midnight, just after midnight, that it finally reached the SMA up here, just about the time I was going to sleep, and I was in a little bit of a profit. And it looked like it was going to continue on through that. The every indicator that I could see kind of looked that way. So I just let it sit, and I didn't raise up my stop. Well, I raised it up a little bit, so it was a very small loss, and then went to sleep. So, but when I got up this morning, I looked at it, and it had peaked out there at that SMA and dropped down, and then it actually triggered my stop. So I lost about $60, which is not a big deal. But it was kind of disappointing because if I had just gotten out at the SMA where I kind of thought about putting the exit order, that would have been a decent trade. Oh well, that's just one of those things. This is why I don't like to trade at night when I'm not watching it. All right, so this morning, 4-hour chart, you can see the last 3-4 days, I would say, have been pretty flat. Very slightly uptrending, but pretty flat. And it's still very, very overextended. They're pretty far away from that blue line. We're sitting on the 20 SMA here as a support, and the 50 SMA is quite a bit down here too. So like 20 points difference there. Maybe not quite that much actually. Between 15, around 15-ish points. So, not too far above it. That's an easy move in a day. So it's possible that it will continue to go up. When it goes flat like that, it usually shows that it has enough bulls to hold up that price and continue to rise. But because we're so overextended, this is really not a very good trading day. And it's a little frustrating when I come across days like this because I really want to trade, but yet, it's not a good time to trade, and so you tend to make bad trades. So I'm very cognizant of that right now. I want to make sure that if I do get in, I'm not going to take any big risks at all, at the very least. All right, and this is the 1-hour chart. As we zoom in, we can see that actually the indicators are in a pretty decent place. They're kind of at average, so there's not a lot of weight going one way or the other. Like over here, when the lines are so far above, there's a lot of pressure to drop, and so that's when you see these great big movements like this. But right now we're just kind of sitting at average, so we've been flat enough for the last few days that it's just kind of leveling out. So that's kind of interesting. So I don't think there's a huge amount of upward push, but there's not a lot of downward push either. So that's interesting. Sometimes when you have a channel like that is so flat, you can actually trade both longs and shorts going up and down like that. But generally speaking, I would say it's pretty uptrending, and I would want to trade a long if possible. We're just not at a good place for that at all. All right, so here I put in the red line here, which showed the highest that it has ever been, which was a couple days ago. And you can see that the price here on this peak is lower than that one. The RSI is also lower. And that's kind of interesting. Losing momentum, I suppose. All right, so now here's the volume area high, and it is really close to that, and that would be about the right place for it to peak out, I would say, at this point, which would be a little bit lower than this peak. So that's a pretty decent resistance level. So I think it'll continue up at least to that point. And here we zoomed into the 5. And my ideal trade, I would want to wait till it drops to the value area low, which is right in here. You can see there's a big cluster of orders right through there, just above that point. I would say that is a pretty good spot. There's also the 180 SMA at 82-ish right there. That would be another good spot for it to drop to and possibly get into a long at that point. So that's kind of my ideal trade. I think that would be the best trade you could make. And when I went back to the charts again after those first few screenshots, it surpassed the top of that value area high. It thought about dropping, but then it continued on up and actually made a new high. It surpassed that red line there, which was kind of a surprise to me, actually. So it's like, okay, maybe the bulls are a little stronger than I thought they were this morning. All right, zoomed out a little bit, but I'm still on the 1 minute chart, and I'm just playing around with different trade ideas. I put in a Fibonacci line here as well, just a very short term. This is just overnight information here that I'm considering, and it's really interesting. I put it in there and then looked over here, and that's like right where we're at. It's amazing. It's like it went right to the Fibonacci line right there. So it's like, okay, that's maybe a pretty decent indicator right there. And if that is a place that is going to act as a resistance level, then maybe it will drop from this point. And sometimes when it jumps up so much, like it just did the last few hours, actually just hour, my goodness, it will often make a big drop as well. So I'm kind of coming around to the idea of getting into a short, as you can see here. And this would be a phenomenal trade. So even just a portion of that would be great. And so as I zoom in to the 1 minute chart and kind of look at my indicators here, I think this is a much more reasonable sort of trade. And here's the Fibonacci line. So I got in just about where the Fibonacci line was. My stop is, let's see, what is that? If I got in here, that would be just under $100 loss. So that is a fabulous place to be. And if it drops down to here, that would be a huge trade. The Fibonacci line that I think it's actually going to be dropping down to is more down here. So I think that the likelihood of this hitting is pretty good. It might peter out here or the top of the value area high. So that's an area that I really want to be cautious. And if it gets down to that area, I would probably get out at that point, and that would still be a good trade. That would be almost a 1-to-3 ratio there, so that's really good. So we'll see. All right, and as it dropped down to that point, I lowered, this is such a nice great big red candle there, I lowered my stop to break even and got stopped out. So I didn't lose anything on that one. I haven't exactly changed my mind, but I was watching it. Let me go back one more time. All right, so here's that big red candle, and it actually made a new high over here, but then it immediately followed it with a big red candle. So I think this is definitely looking like it's starting to turn, and it looks like the kind of a turn that happens after a big bullish movement. It just takes a while for those bulls to go away and the bears to gain control again. And you can see on the MACD, we've definitely got a turning over on that, and it looks like it's going to be dropping. So I still think a short is a good idea. So I put an order in here, got a really tight stop loss, and I put this back up here again to the value area high, and that's still a good trade. Okay, got in and immediately dropped, so lowered it to break even. My stop is at break even, and this is just a couple ticks above the value area high, and I'm following it down very closely. Like I was saying, I don't want to make any great big risky moves. I want to keep my stops really tight and take any kind of profit that I can get. So I'm following that stop down pretty tight right through here. And one great big candle dropped down and filled me. It was absolutely fabulous. So that put me at 389 profit, 175 for that one trade. So that was, that was a good trade for trading against the trend and doing something that I didn't think I was going to be able to do. And I think I did it well. I think I was very cautious with that one, even though it wasn't like the ideal trade. All right. So now I kind of backed out to the 15-minute to try to make the next prediction about where the move is going to go. And I'm seeing some loss of momentum here, big wick, couple of red candles, and I think we're about to tip over and drop down. However, we're sitting at that support level there. Fibonacci line is here, and I've got my alerts set right around that area, and also the SMA just below it. So my guess is that it's going to drop down to that point and then probably bounce and retest that high. So I want to wait till it does that and then go long. And we're also almost to the opening bell. It's 9:17. So I've just got a few more minutes left, and I'm not sure what's going to happen at that point, but it'll go fast. All right, so we can see that it made a bounce here, and it's trying to break through the resistance levels that we see here. On the 1 minute chart, there's an SMA as well as the value area high, almost exactly in the same spot. And it looks like it put a wick down there. It's testing it, and it's dropping. It's a little tentative, but you can see the MACD, or excuse me, the SMAs here kind of working together to show a drop coming along here. And I put in this order and got filled. My stop is a couple ticks above that high wick there, and that is just about $100 loss, so that's not bad. And my buy limit's down here at the Fibonacci line, which would be a really good trade. Again, it's better than a 1-to-2 ratio there. It's not quite 1-to-3, but not bad. That's a decent trade. All right, and I had actually forgot to take this screenshot, but I had decided to do this for absolute certain when I went out to the 5-minute chart and looked at the MACD, and this is looking really, really good. And I didn't grab the one from the 15-minute, but it also looked really good. It looked like it was about ready to drop. So that was why I did that, even though just looking at the 1 minute chart, it's a little bit iffy. You can kind of see the MACD is a little bit not in a real good spot there. So I was kind of nervous about this one. Actually ended up raising up my stop just a little bit, just because this SMA right through here is going to act as a resistance level, and oftentimes you'll see a wick just like zip above it and then knock somebody out. I've had that happen a lot. And so I put the max amount of loss that I would really want to sustain on this trade. I put the stop there, try to put it up as high as I possibly could. So we're looking at more like $150 loss thereabouts. And now we're pretty much a 1-to-2 trade right through here. So that's what's going on, and we have 5 minutes to the opening bell. I'm pretty nervous. Okay, now it's 2 minutes to the opening bell, and we've had a leg up here. We still haven't really broken through that SMA, but I'm pretty worried that it's going to be going up just far enough to get me stopped out, because I wouldn't want to wait I wouldn't want to hold on to it. I don't want to raise that stop up any further, and I'm really worried that it's going to get up to this point and then drop. I still think it's going to drop, but I think it's just going to go up too far for me to hang on. And then the opening bell came and it dropped back down again, so now I'm kind of at break even or very close to it, so I'm encouraged. I think maybe those 5 and 15-minute charts will carry more weight. And there we go, it dropped down. Nice big candle. I got a little worried when it bounced back up again, and so I lowered my stop, and got filled, and ended up making a pretty decent profit on that. Not as much as I had originally anticipated, but as you can see, I think that was the right move, because immediately after that it went up quite a bit. So now I'm not sure about my prediction anymore. I don't know that it's going to get down to that level anymore. So I'm good for the day. I just want to stop. So, and anyway, pretty happy with that.